Good evening and welcome to the Balls Out podcast. Hopefully you all can hear me okay. Doing a little bit of an outside broadcast, but we'll come back to that in a moment. We'll introduce the people we've got alongside me tonight. We've got Mark Langridge as usual. How you doing, mate? You all right?
Yeah, I'm all good, mate. All good. Happy to be back on the show, ready to get started on this entertaining transfer window, shall we say. It's very entertaining.
Entertaining nonetheless, absolutely. And painstakingly long and long-winded. That's just the memo that we've received over this transfer window, that's for sure. And as you can see, return of the Mac. It's my co-owner, my partner in crime. It's Jonathan. How you doing, mate? You all right?
Yeah, I'm good, Nathan. Mate. It's good to be back on. It's been
Is he
too
on mute,
long.
or is that just me? I can't hear him.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you, John.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's Nathan on his truck stop. He's frozen up. No, he's not frozen up. Has he frozen up? Yeah.
No, he's moving around.
Is it working? Are we good?
Yeah, you're good.
Yeah.
You're good. You're good.
Yeah, you're good.
I just can't hear Jonathan. That's the only thing. Can
Can
you
you hear me
him,
now?
Mark?
No?
I can hear him.
Oh, fuck's sake.
And you could hear him before we hit the go live.
Yeah, I could hear him before, and hopefully it will sort itself out. If not, I'll jump out and come back in a second. But yeah. So basically, I've attempting to do an outside broadcast tonight. So I'm away for work. As you can see, this is my bedroom / living room / kitchen / office that I stay away in for a couple of nights of the week.
/ OnlyFans.
Yeah, and my OnlyFans account, which you can find nowhere. But yeah, so I'm attempting just outside Bristol to wanted to make sure we did a show this week, because otherwise we would have done another week without doing another one. So here we are, see how it goes. That's why I've got Jonathan, to make sure he can please come on tonight, just in case this doesn't go well. So fingers crossed it survives. But anyway, that's enough about that.
If you can say exactly where you are, and if anyone's watching could come just knock on your truck, that would literally.
I would
that would make
appreciate
my
if they
day.
didn't. I would appreciate it, especially if it's 3 o'clock in the morning. Unless you're going to do it to wake me up. But no, so yeah, I'm in a truck stop just between Bristol and sort of Bath area. Lovely truck stop, to be fair. I've not been doing this job very long, and this is one of my favourite places so far to stay. I've been down to Devon today and Exeter. So it's been a long old day. Set off this morning at 10 to 5. Got out of bed at 3:15 to get to work, to get to the truck, to then take I've done 380 miles today, so. But it's all good. It's all good fun. It pays the bills. What more could you ask for? Anyway, enough about my career choices. It's all about the career choices and goals of a certain Benjamin Sesko that has taken over the headlines this afternoon, being reported by multiple outlets that amid interest from Newcastle, Manchester United are doing their best to hijack said deal to bring him in. Mark, you were talking backstage, wasn't you, about you're not overly keen on him. I know you don't share that opinion with many people, but why don't you tell us what makes you feel that Šeško might not be the answer?
Apart from just looking at all his lack of goals, his stats, things like that, I've watched him play for a couple of years because his name has been around so much now, hasn't he? Oh, that is not good. Yeah, so he's been touted around for, I'd say, probably last 2-3 years as an up and coming player since about 19. His international career is okay, but he's not exactly with a high profile nationality. I think is it Slovenia, Slovakia? It's one of the S's. I can't remember off the top of my head.
Yeah.
But do you know what I don't like? He shoots so much from outside the box. He's left-footed. He has got an absolute hammer of a left foot. I can't fault his left foot at all. And it is an absolute hammer. But he's shooting from 30, 40 yards because he knows he's got such a good strike on him. And guess what? He doesn't hit the target. And then you could go into his stats. I put something in our chat earlier where Frimpong's played twice as many games and scored almost as many goals from right wing back as a striker in what we would call the German league. Third, fourth tier football? Out, Prem being the best. I would have expected more. I just think he's Rasmus Højlund 2.0, but that's an opinion. I'd love to be proven wrong, but there's no way I want to spend 70 million on.
Is that the figure that's being quoted at the moment? About 70 million?
65 to 70 million, yeah. Which he can't back that up right now, and that's my fear. I'd rather spend 70 million on anyone forget Watkins, any striker in the Premier League, I think, can score double figures.
Well, what's your opinion on him, Jonathan? Like, I don't watch much German Bundesliga football. I only really hear the name Benjamin Šeško when it comes to transfer windows. What's your sort of opinion? Is it on the same sort of wavelength as Mark, or are you sort of a bit more positive about maybe the idea?
First of all, can you hear me okay?
Yeah, all good, mate.
Yeah,
all good.
Yeah, I'm kind of in the middle. I can see Mark's concerns for sure, because I think we've all been stung so hard with the Rasmus Højlund transfer for that £72 million fee that we're reluctant to go down that road of the continental golden boy that's going to come to the Premier League and rip it up football manager style. I just think Højlund was probably a bit raw than what Šeško is. I look at Šeško and he's more seasoned internationally, which is a good thing. He's definitely physically more capable of coming to the Premier League and slotting straight in, I think. His goal return is definitely better than Højlund's before he arrived in the Premier League as well. And I think most importantly, the supply line behind Šeško would be much better than that of that was behind Højlund when he joined. I mean, okay, the likes of Marcus Rashford, who was coming off the best season of his career, but you also had Garnacho, who was only just breaking into the team. He was very raw as well. You Kobe Manu, who was only breaking into the first team as well. So the supply into the forward line wouldn't have been as good as what it's going to be this season, or what we hope it's going to be this season. In terms of comparing him to Ollie Watkins, of course, I'd be delighted if we sign Watkins. I think he's just a player that's ready to come in and hit the ground running like Cunha and like Mbeumo. But then I look at the long-term advantages of investing 65 to 70 million in Šeško, in that if it does work out, then we've got our forward line sorted for the next 10 years or so. And like I said in our group chat earlier on, we can focus then on, like the next summer, on two to three midfielders, which is what we really need long term. Our midfield has just been neglected for far too long. So I don't completely disagree with Mark. I see his concerns and I would share some of them, but I think there's a lot more advantages to Šeško than there was Højlund. So I wouldn't completely compare the two. But I wouldn't be getting wouldn't be getting too excited. Like, I mean, Twitter is kind of losing its mind today, saying if we get Šeško, there's a title or none, it's guaranteed top four. It's not guaranteed top four. We could sign Šeško and get top four, but it's not guaranteed. I'd be excited if we sign him, but I would still be remaining very calm and low key until he actually signs and does it when we need him to do it.
Jonathan, do you see him as a big enough upgrade on Rasmus Højlund for 70 million?
No, I don't. Not with the lack of finances that we had. If this was about 10 years ago when we had 300 million to spend in the summer like we did under Ed Woodward, I wouldn't have the same concerns. But the fact that money is such a premium now, and I still think we need a goalkeeping upgrade, and we definitely need a proper midfielder as well. No, I don't think there's a guaranteed upgrade there to warrant spending 70 million quid right now.
And that's how I look at it.
Yeah, it's crazy to me because this is probably. We've mentioned Ollie Watkins a couple of times, and I'll be honest, I was a little bit excited when the news came out that we had approached Villa. Not really much has came out since then, whether they've sort of like denied our approach and said no, he's not for sale, blah blah blah. That's fine, but I did get a little bit more. You know what? We were still following that trend of we're buying players that have done it in the Premier League and can know what we're getting. Whereas these players that we've been stung by in the past, i.e., not so much Xerxes, because I think he's coming into his own a little bit, but players like Højlund, it's a little bit like if we go down that same route of paying 70 million for Šeško. Don't get me wrong. Obviously, if he signs for United, I'm sure a lot of United fans will support him, like we've done with Højlund. You know, Højlund gets hate, but I think a service was a massive thing for Højlund for a long time, and confidence. So if we get Šeško, obviously we're all going to 100% support him. But is it for me right now? And like you've said, Jonathan, it's not a massive area of the pitch that I would be that concerned with, because we can feed goals from players like Cunha, like Mbuemo, and Fernandes, who's basically carried the team for the last 5 years. So having a striker upgrade right now, for me, the same as you, I don't think that's a massive area of the pitch that I would be that concerned with. Goalkeeper is still a massive area. I think I agree with totally that. Unfortunately, I like Onana and I like what he's about, but he's just not a safe pair of hands for me. And unfortunately, it's the same for Bayern Deer. You know, we all thought when Onana went to the AFCON and we saw Bayern Deer in goal, and then when we saw him in the Carabao Cup, and then when Onana was dropped for the Newcastle game, when we ended up shipping 4 goals past Bayern Deer, he's not the answer to our goalkeeping area problem. So you're looking at 2 goalkeepers. The fact that Newcastle have made an approach to buy Ramsdale this week is disappointing, because I've been an advocate for bringing Ramsdale in, because you know what you're getting.
Would you go for
Admittedly,
Pope?
not at this part of his career. I saw Nick Pope, and this is not a lie. I saw Nick Pope on his debut for Charlton Athletic, and we knew there was a goalkeeper there. They were playing in League One, I believe. Someone will correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure Charlton were in League One. I was a season ticket holder at Charlton for a number of years, and I saw Nick Pope's debut, and he was an unbelievable keeper, and it wasn't surprising that he basically was shipped out at the end of the season.
He would be a good keeper to bring in with Heaton, because obviously they were together at Burnley. So
is it what would you? Yeah, I don't disagree.
He's just been made second choice. So would you take Pope over Onana, even at this stage in his career?
Yeah, I probably would, to be fair.
You know, that's what we're looking at, because that's where Martinez is as well. And Pope's younger. I think Pope's only 28 or 29.
Pope's going to be an easier goalkeeper to get out of Newcastle, whereas Martinez,
He's just been made unhappy.
Yeah, the Villa money that they're asking for Martinez doesn't match the valuation that United have got. So that would probably be an easier transfer to make. It would upset Newcastle fans, because we've already stolen. If the Šeško deal goes through and we end up getting Šeško, that's going to upset them. We obviously stole Mbuemo. Cunha was linked to Newcastle for a small amount of time, and then obviously if Isak goes, Newcastle just had a
I believe he's gone. I believe that's a done deal. I heard today that the contract, not the contract, but everything's been agreed with agents. Everything. So now it's just getting the price, and Newcastle still have to sell. They've just bought, so they still need to sell players.
They would probably sell a Nick Pope. Yeah, but going back to someone like Ramsdale, I've been harping on about Ramsdale for a long time. That I think he is a safe pair of hands. He was unfairly treated at Arsenal, and he's just had a couple of really rough years. Obviously, back-to-back relegations again. You know, he's not got a great track record in that respect. But, you know, if he wasn't in goal for Southampton last year, they probably would have conceded hundreds of goals more than they did.
100%. Some of those saves, mate, were top draw.
Yeah.
You know, he's making double saves and they're tapping in the third. Do you know what I mean? When the defenders are like, oh, he saved that. Oh, he got that one.
Yeah.
Oh, shit. Maybe I should have made a tackle. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just like...
is there a goalkeeper that you've got in mind, Jonathan, Premier League or otherwise? Is there anyone that really sticks out, or is it sort of like the names that we've already mentioned?
I like the idea of the young goalkeeper Lamens. Is that his name? I like the idea of a younger keeper who can come in straight away. You're kind of taking Bayern there out of the equation there, because he's the by proxy number 2, but he's a good enough number 2 that he's got potential and could potentially provide a threat to Onana if he got a couple of games. Whereas, like you said, Bayern there is just not a threat at the moment. He's not a feasible number 2. And I also seen I know it's a bit of a football manager signing, but Donnarumma was mentioned today as well, and I know that PSG are close to signing the goalkeeper from Lille, whose name evades me at the moment, but they're spending about 40 million euro on him, so that would suggest that they've made their mind up on him being the number one next season. And I think Donnarumma only has a year left on his contract.
He does, and he
So
was negotiating for one about 2 months ago, maybe 1 month ago, and we already
yeah,
took him there.
so there could be like, that one might not be as fantastical as we might think. Now the problem there will be wages, because like I can only imagine the sort of wages he's going to demand. I'm sure he's on probably 200,000 to 300,000 a week at PSG. So that's an area we're trying to get away from. It'll be a question of could we get those wages down, or what way those negotiations will go. But I certainly would take him. I think he'd be a massive upgrade on Onana. But those are the two I'd be thinking of. I think I like the idea of Martinez, but the finances just seem ridiculous, and he's 32, which I know isn't old for a goalkeeper. But I just think we could do a bit better than that, personally, going forward. But again, I wouldn't have a massive issue with Nick Pope either, because I just think Onana is he's just a liability. I mean, we were poor in that Europa League final, but the goal he let in just compounded his season last year, just so weak. And we just we'll probably score more goals next year, but we're going to continue to concede goals with him between the sticks.
Yeah, I completely agree. Mark, have you got the stats handy that you had earlier for Šeško?
Yeah, they're on my phone. Hang on.
Yeah, just run us through some of the highlights from that evening. I believe that's Jarvis. How you doing, mate? Good to see
Evening,
you.
Jarvis. Like I say, you have to take him with a pinch of salt, because I'm comparing him to a right back in that league. But Harry Kane can score 30 to 40 goals still in that league, and what's he, 50 now? So it certainly feels that way.
Yeah.
So Šeško has. So only looking at what's been this league on that. So last 2 seasons, yeah, he plays. This is the problem when you take a photo. I've got 64 games for Šeško, 27 goals, 7 assists. Okay, I'm just seeing if I can get up on the computer at the same time. Whereas Frimpong has played 133 games at not just at right wing back, because I haven't always played wing back. He was a right back as well. 23 goals and 28 assists. But obviously they went unbeaten and had a title winning season in there. But I would want someone who's at least second top goal scorer in the league. That sort of thing. Like if Harry Kane's first, we should be going for second in the German league. Like I've said on a lot of shows, Jonathan Davis was always second behind Mbappe in the French league, and now he's gone to Juventus. Like that's a proven record. Like, but every season he's consistently hitting those numbers.
Yeah.
How's he done in Europe? Those kind of things, because you can't compare that. 28 games in the Champions League, 6 goals. Rasmus Højlund had 5 goals in 6 games in the Champions League, in our worst Champions League season ever. We would have gone through, and he would have had more games if Onana could actually keep the ball out of the net and didn't lose us all those games. Whereas even Frimpong got 7 goals. 7 assists in 15 games in the Champions League. Šeško has got 2 assists and 6 goals. I think I just said it was 6. Yeah, it's. I get it. He's 22, and everyone goes he's young, but so's Rasmus. I'm beating the. It's not that I'm beating the drum of Rasmus Højlund. It's I'm comparing apples with apples here. They're both the same age. They've both come with not that many goals. I think Rasmus scored 9 for Atalanta. This guy scored 13. Now, where would you rank the German league to the Italian league? I'd probably have the Italian league one league above. But some people might have it the other way around. They're on par with each other. But Rasmus was 19 at that point. This guy was obviously 21, 22. And he's only just outscored Rasmus this year in that league.
Yeah. Is there an element, Jonathan, that maybe are they looking at the fact that we haven't got a recognised backup striker, and it's just unfortunate that the market has got to a stage where strikers are at such a premium that you're having to pay £70 million even for a backup behind Rasmus Højlund?
I just think the striker market is it's very slim pickings at the moment. If you look at it today compared to what it was about 10 or 15 years ago, and the options that are there in that elite bracket, it's very, very slim pickings. I mean, you're still looking at Harry Kane as an elite striker in Europe in his 30s now, and you're still looking at, God, you'd take him. There's I wouldn't think they're looking at it from a point of view that he's going to be a backup. I just don't think Højlund fits the style of play that Amrin wants from his forward, and they can't just outright sell him because they'd lose too much money in terms of book value and PSR. So now they're trying to look at an option where they could offload him as part of this deal, because I don't see how we can afford this deal just with outright cash. There's no immediate sale on the horizon. In terms of the players who've been exiled, that would suggest we're going to get money in the next couple of weeks. So it looks to me like there's some encouragement there in terms of maybe getting Højlund off the books, Leipzig taking him, and us getting Šeško. But at the moment, it looks like the biggest obstacle will probably be convincing Højlund to go to Leipzig, because I think he wants to stay and fight for his future. And I feel sorry for him a bit, because like you said, Nathan, the last few years the supply into our forward line has been absolutely atrocious, and he's been kind of running down a lot of blind alleys. He's had a thankless task up there leading that line a lot of the time the last 2 seasons, and you've seen enough there in glimpses in the Europa League and at times in the Premier League that there's something there. Like, he's not a player I'd like to write off at 22. There's definitely something there, and I said it on a previous show. I'd love to see him get a loan move to the Bundesliga, ironically enough, and see how he does there, and maybe build a bit of confidence and start scoring goals again. But in terms of this deal, I can't see us taking Sesko and sending him on loan. I think it's going to have to be a permanent swap if it's going to happen there. But in the mix of all this as well, I think we're forgetting Joshua Zirkzee, and like, I really think that we're missing an opportunity here in terms of playing him up front with Cunha and Mbeumo. I think he'd really dovetail well with those two in terms of that false 9.5, 10 that he described himself as, dropping between the lines, Cunha pushing high, but I just think it could be a very, very flexible front three if we gave him a chance. But at the moment, no one really seems to be considering Zirkzee at all in this.
I don't think we've had an opportunity yet to get your views and opinions on the Mbeumo deal. What was your immediate thoughts about that deal in particular after that? Because obviously we've spoken about it for weeks, but I don't think we've had a chance to get your view on it.
Yeah, no, I was delighted because I think it was a few months ago we were looking ahead to the transfer window, and you asked, I think, myself and Mark the question, who would you prefer if we could get one, Cunha or Mbeumo? And we both said that, like, geez, we'd love Mbeumo, but the finances seemed wrong, and the Cunha deal seemed the most likely because of the release clause. But I never in my wildest dreams actually thought we would buy both of them this summer, so I was absolutely delighted to finally get that one over the line. I think he'll bring so much. It's just a bit strange that in the summer, when we have quite limited finances, that we bought two players in our most stacked position. That one just kind of baffled me a little bit, because of all the areas that need major addressing. Like, I mean, we've got Bruno, we've got Mason Mount, Ahmad can play there, so we've got quite a selection of riches that can play in the 10 position. So I was a bit surprised that we coughed up so much money to buy two 10s, but it's done now. But no, I'm delighted with the signing. I think it's a signing we would have seen Man United making about 10 or 15 years ago under Fergie. About 15 years ago under Fergie. He wasn't here 10 years ago. So yeah, it's a throwback to the old days of Man United, where we were picking the best players from lower clubs and bringing them to Man United and improving Man United. And yeah, I think they're going to have a massive impact if we play to their strengths.
Yeah, I completely agree.
It is weird that we've gone. We're heavily stacked in centre backs. Now we're heavily stacked in 10s, and that's where it isn't really balanced. I think that's exactly what you're alluding to there. We're missing a striker. We bought more 10s. we're missing midfielders. We bought more 10s. We don't need to buy defenders because we bought them the year before, and they're now not injured. And we need a goalkeeper. It's like we're missing a position. Do the next line. We're okay there. Miss a position. Next line. But I can only hope that the high press is the idea of his. I've got enough defenders. We can do a high line, stay on the halfway line, and then those hard working 10s box people in. But yeah, there's a few players I can't work out their position next season currently because of those two signings.
Well, we'll come on to that in a second, the sort of players that you're thinking about there. But it would be a massive shame, Mark, that if Højlund was to be part of this deal and we bring in Šeško, it would be a massive shame because it would be really typical of a player to struggle with service. Then the club goes out and buys 2 top-class 10s or wingers, whatever you want to call them, to then sell Rasmus Højlund in a bid to get a different striker who, to me, from the stats that you're reading out and his sort of style of play, isn't really that much different. So it would be a massive shame to lose a player in the midst of us, in the sense that we're giving him the tools now to prove himself. If this year he doesn't get at least 10, 15 goals amidst that service that we should be able to supply him with now, then you can pretty much guarantee, all right,
Nathan, that is exactly my thinking. Where have we given him the real opportunity? Like, if we didn't create chances for Andy Cole, he would never have been our best finisher at the club. And he is, because he never took penalties. So his goal scoring record is no penalties in his career, except obviously a shootout. And I don't think he even took them in that. Right? If you don't create a striker chances, it's not an honest opinion, is it?
No.
It's not an honest opinion. And he has and I have to keep going back to this. And currently, before the season starts, up until now, he has a 26% conversion rate on his shots. Now, if he isn't making the right runs, then that's on him. If he's making the right runs and people are playing the wrong ball, that's on the creative side. That's what we're not sure of. I think as fans, we can look at him going, is he doing this? Is he doing that? We don't know. But under Amarin, we have to give him a season. He had a season under Ten Hag, started slow, and then started banging in goals, didn't he? So what was it, 16 goals? And like I say, he had and he scored 5 in 6 in the hardest thing in the world, and that's the Champions League. Bayern Munich, things like that, and he showed good strength, and he showed that for the first time. So I will be staying up, or at least attempting to watch the game tonight. And like, he got worse in the last friendly. He got a lot worse. But I do agree that if we can utilise him from the halfway line, he should be running in behind. But it's what he does around the box. He should be running into the box. That's the thing. But we should build and create chances and force the play forward. Then you can have as many shots as you like. And I don't think it would matter who that striker is. And that's why we got Obi. But I think I've done enough shows with you guys that we must all be on the same wavelength of Rasmus, Šeško, Obi. They're all 22. What do they all need to have with them at the club? Well, Obi's younger. They all still need an established striker to play with, to learn from at training. It has to be done. I don't care where we get one from. Well, we have to have an established striker, or we have to have a world-class striking coach. We need to go out and get that guy from the England setup and things like that. We need someone who goes, what the fuck are you doing? No, you do this little movement, drop your shoulder, go right. Just the basics. Sometimes the basics need to be taught every week. And these are still kids. We would class a 22-year-old. You'd walk up 22-year-old in the street and go, he's a kid. You would.
Yeah, so I'm not totally convinced by it, but like I said earlier, if we sign him and he joins the club, then whatever. Obviously as a United fan, I'll support him and hope that he succeeds. But I would be disappointed to see Rasmus go.
Yeah.
We've got some bloke coming around checking that we're all paid for parking.
Yeah.
My receipt's in the window. It's all right. Food's great here, by the way. Food absolutely banging here. With parking, you get a
can
£10
see
meal.
that Tactical Devils have put in there, because I've said it before in the chat. Why I cannot back going for second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh choice players. If you can't get your first choice, go through your list for each position, and then if you can't get any of your first choices, then you've got to reassess. You've got to look at yourself as a club. Go, yeah, well, we're definitely not a big club anymore. We've got to go down a tier, and go through those players. So if you do first choice and you can't get any first choice, you go through your second choice for every position. And if you mine enough, you'll hit gold somewhere. So, yeah, I don't know. Jonathan, what do you think? Do you think we should really be going for a fifth, sixth choice striker? If Gyökeres was our first choice, would you go for a different position, first choice? Or would you continue looking for any striker? Let's bring in a striker. Let's bring in a striker.
I'm still barking on the Ollie Watkins train, to be honest. I'm still on that train. But
I think he can do a job. Go on, Jonathan.
The striker one has been a strange one this summer because it's hard to pinpoint who our first choice was, because obviously it was Liam Delap was the first name. We were willing to trigger the clause in his contract. Chelsea swooped in there. He decided to end his career at 22, and then all of a sudden Gyökeres was our number one target. We were talking to him. There was a lot of debate whether we were going to get him or whether he was always decided on Arsenal. We never really know that one, but I think the Champions League was too much of a pull for him. Then there's whispers about Watkins, as Laurie Whitwell revealed about a month ago, and now all of a sudden we're settling on Šeško, so there's a bit of confusion there about, even if we were talking about second, third, fourth choice striker options, it's weird because they're all different types of strikers as well. So it's hard to look at it and think, yeah, I can see the style that Ineos and Amorim are going for here. They're very different strikers who bring very different things as well. So,
do you know who's not a different striker, Jonathan? You've just said the best thing you could have said there. You are right now. All different types of strikers, but do you know which two are the same? Gyökeres and Rasmus Højlund. If you saw Gyökeres at Brighton and Coventry, that is Rasmus Højlund. He's physical, making all the wrong movements, but he needs to be coached.
Yeah.
So I didn't mean to interrupt, but
no, it's fine.
You're so on point with that. It's so valid.
Yeah. No, but that's the thing. So I see the desire to acquire a striker this summer because of our goal scoring failings last year. But at the same time, I look and I'm kind of like, how far down the list of strikers do you want to go before you're like, right, okay, maybe this is something we can reassess next summer. We've brought in two of the Premier League's top scorers from last season who are definitely going to make an impact from the 10 position. So that's some of the goal scoring issues sorted. Maybe let's look at now another priority position, i.e. a goalkeeper or a proper central midfielder to add some bulk to the middle of the park. So I'm like Nathan as well, though. I would like to see Watkins purely because I look at the succession plan there at United. We've got a young striker in Højlund. We forget that Xerxes only 24 as well, so he's only a young striker as well in terms of striking terms. He's only a young player as well. He's got a lot to learn too. And you've got Cheetah Obi as well, who's 17. Like, if we sign Šeško and happen to keep Højlund, then we've got two 22-year-olds and a 17-year-old. So I'd like to see a proper demographic of age there. If we got rid of Højlund, for example, and signed Watkins, you've got a 29/30-year-old, you've got a 24-year-old striker in Xerxes, and you've got a 17-year-old. That's succession planning. That's what the best clubs do. You've got an experienced striker, a young backup striker, and then a prospect for the future who's going to get
and players coming through.
Exactly.
100% agree. Nathan,
that's the long-term planning. That's the long-term plan. That's what Man United used to do so well. You had the experienced players training with the younger players. They were learning. They got experience, and then when those players left or retired, they were ready to step in there. and that's what Ineos should be looking at. That would be another concern I have about Sheshko coming in as well. It's just the age demographic of the team just gets thrown off far too much.
I go back to Makeda. Do you obviously remember Makeda coming on and scoring that goal against Villa, and he was dropped the next game. Yeah, but he's dropped. Because you've come on, you've done your job, but that's what Roy Keane or Ferguson be saying. Mate, you've come on and you've done your job. Well done. You haven't set the world on fire. You've scored a goal, but there's still players in front of you. Know your place, and that's what they need to do.
You look at. I mean, even historically, like people like Ollie. He very rarely made number one striker starts. He was always an impact sub, and he understood that was his role. And it worked out. He was always named a super sub, and he made a career out of it. So,
but
number one.
I haven't said it on here because it only really came to me the other night. But I think we did have a plan for a striker, and I think it obviously went completely tits up. I think it was Rasmus Højlund out. I think it was Leon Delap in. What was it, 30 million or something like that? It was cheap, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Gyökeres in. It was Delap, Gyökeres, Obi. It was to change our strikers entirely. I think that's what we would have done, or what we were looking to do, because it just made sense.
Yeah.
We thought 60 million for Gyökeres, because that was all the bullshit being, for at the start of the transfer window. And then 30 million for Delap. So you're paying 90 million. Now we want to play close to that just for Benjamin Sesko as the ninth name, or 60 million for Watkins, like you said, a 30-year-old. But if we've signed Watkins, Rasmus stays. But maybe we should touch on this. What about Rasmus apparently going the other way in this deal? If that happens, I can see Rasmus scoring 15 to 20 goals. I generally can see him scoring 15 to 20 goals in that German league. Because of that pace. What have Bayern Munich built their legacy in there? That pace where they get in behind a solid back four, and they just run in behind, or counter-attacking football. And I can see Rasmus doing that. And then everyone go, oh, maybe we shouldn't have let him go. No, we shouldn't. That's just my opinion. My humble opinion on a striker for they can only score goals with chances.
No, I mean, I've always been, if we were going to do anything with Højlund, I would have liked to have loaned him out to either I wouldn't like to see him abroad, because I don't think you don't get, it's like the Anthony situation. If Anthony came back to us now, he probably wouldn't have anywhere near the same impact that he's just had over in La Liga. So I understand, like, the idea of a loan move for Højlund would be, I would like to see him go to somewhere sort of top of the championship, or maybe a Sunderland, more physical presence up top, someone that's not going to be so much in the limelight and just nicking goals where necessary. As a Manchester United striker, you're expected, not needed, you're expected to be in the right place at the right time. Whereas at a place like Sunderland, with no disrespect to Sunderland, but they're not going to be expected to score a lot of goals this year. So putting a player in that position that can use his physicality, because he's not a scrawny lad, he's got the right build to be a more physical up front.
And all our players this season have come back there bulking up. Literally, I think we're going to get drug tested galore because they look like they've been on steroids over the summer.
So yeah, that's what I mean. If there was no deal to be done, no, that's not what I mean. If there was a deal to be done in keeping him, I would like to keep him. But if there was a deal to see him go out, I would have liked to have seen him go on loan, just to prove his physicality in those sort of more sort of low pressure, high pressure situations, if that's even a way of putting it. But you know what I mean.
I totally agree. I totally agree with a loan move. But the problem you've got with a loan move, and I don't know what Jonathan will think, is we're playing a weird formation. So what does it work if we go stick him in a 4-3-3? Well, that's a different formation. So maybe we can score that. If we stick him in a two up top and he starts scoring goals, that's fine. Then he comes back and he has to play the lone striker role for us. Everyone goes, they're professional footballers, they should learn anything. But then they flip the side when they're not scoring, going, he's not right for us. Well, which one is it? Is he the right fit? Do you buy the right fit? Or do you go, well, they should be able to play in any position?
Yeah.
So the loan move works, but only if you send him to someone playing one up top. And there aren't many doing that. Even Wolves play two up top in a
Making a
5-man
comeback.
midfield.
Playing two up tops, making a comeback. I'm telling you.
Yeah, it helps. We do it. It means you pin your centre backs, and you end up playing 9v9 on the pitch.
And also, you're going to start seeing 4-4-2s and long balls. That's all we want as football fans.
Don't
It's
talk to
playing
me
out from the
about
back.
long balls. I played a match Sunday, and I've never experienced county football at it. They just started pinging long diagonals from well inside their own half. It's like, thank you, we'll have that. We're going back the other way. I've never seen that. I was like, are you looking at the bench like, are you serious? Like, that's how you're playing football? So maybe the long ball's coming back. Maybe they're ahead of the game.
Yeah, bring it back. Why not? But yeah, going back, what was I saying? On that sort of situation of not really prioritising certain parts of the field, I assume, Jonathan, you might be in the sort of same camp that me and Mark have been in for the last few, probably months now, the last few months or so, where it looks like they are looking at Casemiro sort of slowly coming to the end of his tenure at United, probably one more season. Ugarte is obviously their choice of player in that secondary role, and the potential of moving Fernandes alongside Ugarte, and then that frees up those spots there for Cunha or Mbeumo to make that number 10 role their own, and giving Fernandes that sort of free role in that sort of midfield area. That would seem to be the obvious reason why they're not going out and buying midfielders to fill those voids, to me anyway.
Yeah, potentially so, but it concerns me. Bruno showed last week against West Ham why he's a 10. He's a goal threat and he's constantly bursting his gut to get forward. And you can't play a double pivot in the middle of the park and expose one of your midfielders. It's why McFred worked so well, was because they were both like-minded players. They set back. The only way you can play with one holding midfielder in this day and age, and Pep Guardiola has mastered it, Arteta has to a lesser extent, but you've got to play with inverted fullbacks who are going to cover the space that's left in the middle of the park. And in order to do that, you've got to have a certain type of fullback. We tried to do it for a brief period at the start of Ten Hag's second season. When we signed Mount, we played Casemiro on his own holding. Luke Shaw tried to invert, Dallo tried to invert, but it just didn't work because they're not good enough footballers in that position. Like, Luke Shaw is a good footballer, but I just don't think he had the legs at this point of his career with his injuries and whatever. But the midfield that started last week against West Ham will be my starting midfield, Manu and Ugarte, because it has the perfect mix of creativity, shithousery, tackling, ball winning potential, and it has legs. It has youth. These guys can go for 90 minutes. I'm not saying Bruno can't run for 90 minutes, but his effectiveness certainly wanes because of the amount of running he's expected to do in that two-man pivot, and his strengths then diminish. Um, I understand how important Bruno is to us and how key he has been for us since he signed. And obviously next year he's going to get more of a rest because obviously we've no European games. But I just like to see us every now and again just try out a formation without Bruno in it. Just to catch out opposition as well, because most opposition that come up against us, they're preparing for Bruno and the threat Bruno brings. So I'd like to just see us every now and again just going with that Ugarte menu midfield and starting Cunha and Buemo and whoever it is up front, Hoyland, Xerxes, Sheshko, whoever it may be, and just throw the cat amongst the pigeons and just bring him on as an impact player as well. Like, I mean, he doesn't have to start every single game and play every single minute. Like, think about bringing on a Bruno after 60 minutes and the opposition is somewhat tired. Then you could bring him on in a double pivot and watch him like ping balls around from deep and get forward and whatnot. So, yeah, I think as soon as we committed to Boyan and Buemo, it was obvious that after signing Cunha that Bruno was seen as more of that deep line playmaking role. So I would think that's what we're going to see more often than not in the two-man midfield is Bruno alongside either a Ugarte, a Casemiro. That's what it looks like the plan is, but I'd like to see the plan deviate a little bit because I just think we're missing out on the strengths of Mainu as well. I just think he's been kind of thrown aside because he had a few injuries last year, but we all know what he can do, and I'd like to see him feature a bit more this season and intertwine and mix it up a bit with Bruno.
Yeah. Have you got anything you want to add on to that, Mark?
Wholeheartedly. I'm actually, hopefully, Jonathan, this works. I just want to bring up a certain player. You just talked about the midfield, and I've recently we've been linked with Morten Højlund. Okay, this guy. Were you just saying about Man City having a holding midfielder for basically they built their team around one man, right?
Mm-hmm.
This guy, when we looked at his stats, they are like 10%, 15% less than Rodri in his positional things. He just covers the whole thing, ball retention, everything. Just win the ball back, high press, does everything Rodri does. We've been linked with him from Sporting. Now, I don't think we'll get him. I believe a bid went in, if you can believe the journalists, 40, 50 million. And I don't know if that was euros or pounds, but I remember it was about 40, 50 million yesterday. Everything you were just saying about Bruno, we need someone like him. We need someone that is box to box, but can play that holding midfield. A Declan Rice, a Rodri. I can do both roles, and I can run for 200 minutes. Do you know what I mean? You have to have that if you're going to put Bruno in midfield. This guy is absolutely, stats-wise, phenomenal. And obviously, he knows the system, so that will help everyone out, right? It's just coincidence, but he has been linked, I think, with Juventus and been looking at in top teams, not like Chelsea has been linked with everyone. But Bruno is a real problem. Bruno and Ahmad, they are problem players right now, not in a bad way. The kind of problems we want. Let's get rid of my share screen. We don't need that anymore. But if we say you just saying about Bruno, we bought 2 10s, so 10s are going to play in the 10 role. I think that's safe to say. We don't know about Bruno yet because he hasn't played and he isn't going to play tonight or in the morning anyway. He could be our right wing back, but I don't see that. He's been playing up as the number 9 or number 10, front 2. I can't see him coming signing a contract for Man United to play as a wing back. He either plays in the 10 or he plays in the 9, but he's not an out and out striker, so I can't see him playing in the 9. Bruno, as you quite rightly said, leaves everyone exposed. It doesn't matter whether it's Ugarte, Mainu, Casemiro, Toby Collier. He just goes missing. Absolutely just disappears into his own little world. Yes, he normally gets something out of it, a wonder ball, a chance. His goal, superbly taken, that chip, wasn't it? It was absolutely brilliant chip. And I'm not sure Cunha or Mbeumo do that. I think they put their foot through it. So that I get. But Ahmad, we've all been saying he should be in the 10. I don't see him as a right wing back. I don't see him interlinking unless he has got one hell of a link up with Mbeumo and they just constantly switch with each other. Yeah. So it's going to be a really weird one. It's really going to be weird because what was it, 100 million for Bruno, wasn't it? And he didn't go. If we're led to believe the conversation is this, we accepted the 100 million and Bruno said no.
Yeah.
That was the original story, not I'll fight for my place, not I want to stay at Man United. It was I don't want to go, or my family don't want to go there, whichever way you want to look at it. So it's him and Ahmad are rotational in my eyes a bit. And you look at what he said about the midfield. He needs legs. He needs quicker movement. Bruno don't move the ball quickly unless he's kicking it in behind. He can't play a 5-yard pass to a United player. He even was giving it away in the first game. So, and I know everyone go, oh, it's pre-season, but watching for most of last season, he gives the ball away on a 5-yard pass because he can't pass properly. Everything's outside of the foot. Flick round the corner, blind passing. So, yeah, I think out of everything, we need to sign Edison or Morton Hillman for me. I keep butchering his name. I cannot pronounce it. But for me, they're a must-have. You've got to make a solid midfield. We've got a solid defence, or as solid as we're going to get. And that goalkeeper. 2 positions changes the entire Man United team. I genuinely think it changes our team, and that's when the striker option won't be needed. But I'm sorry for a little bit of a rant, but there are players out there that we need to be looking at that could really transform us.
No, 100% agree. It's just all about United now prioritising where their priorities are lying, and I certainly believe that the striker situation for me now isn't a priority, and it should probably be focusing so probably the goalkeeping area. And I do think what you said, like obviously about Bruno, obviously if the conversations were what we're being made out to believe that, United said, it's up to you, we're accepting it, but it's up to you. We don't want you to go, but if you want to go, we'll understand. Blah 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 blah. Any sort of mistake or any sort of bad run of form that Bruno now has this season, I think a lot of fans are going to come firing at him, saying you should have gone. You've cost the club 100 million. Loyalty is a really tough thing to buy in football, and I think Bruno deciding that the move wasn't right for him and his family and staying with United is worth more in that respect. Yes, I appreciate the fact that 100 million probably would have been, if you added 100 million from Bruno, say 60 to 70 million, and that gets added to the transfer budgets.
Well, I think we go and outbid.
You're adding 2 or 3, even maybe 4 players with that. So
yeah,
it's an interesting way to put it. But we'll just have to see. Jonathan, any thoughts on the game in the early hours of the morning, or couldn't care less?
I do care somewhat because I think it's important that we see some signs of improvement from everything that we've seen last year. I know results don't really matter in pre-season, but certainly performances, energy, desire, player fitness, I think it is important, and a style of play I think is crucial now with Amarim there about 8 months or so. Like if we get beat by Bournemouth, it'll be disappointing, but look, it's not the end of the world if they play well. And they played very well against West Ham. I mean, it was the most I've seen a Man United team run in I don't know how many years. It's actually crazy. They looked so fit. They were fighting like dogs, and that's what we want to see. That's the minimum that we ask for as fans. If we lose 7 out of 10 matches in the season, it'll be disappointing. But if you can see that they're leaving every drop of energy they have out there, then that's all fans want to see. That's all we ask for, and it was lacking so much last season and previous years. So yeah, in terms of results, I'm not too bothered. But again, formation, player selection, player performances is definitely something I want to see. A bit disappointed not to see Mbeumo again, because I appreciate that he's probably not up to the fitness of the other players, because I know Brentford started pre-season a week after United and he wasn't properly involved with the impending move. But like, my argument would be that he's training with the team now over a week. This is what pre-season is for. Surely he could get 15, 20 minutes tonight. It's not going to do that much damage. Like, as well as for fitness, it's for fans as well. Not us even watching at home, but fans paying good money for the games in America to see the new star signing. So it's a bit disappointing. But look, we've got to back the manager. You've got to back the sports science and fitness teams, and it's actually scary how close the new season is now. I didn't realize it was only a couple of weeks away, and we only have I think tonight we play Everton. We play Bournemouth, play Everton, then we play Fiorentina. I think that's it then until we kick off against Arsenal. So yeah, coming around
And I
quickly.
think,
Jonathan,
isn't
you
it
think
the
that's
EFL's
scary?
back this weekend? Isn't the Football League
Yeah.
starting this weekend as well?
Oh,
We've
okay.
got a cup
I'm
match
sure
to
it is.
play.
Martin,
We've
have you
got
got
an FA
anything you
Cup
want to
match
add to what Jonathan said there about tonight's game and ongoing?
Yeah, I'm actually. Bournemouth could have had double figures against Everton, so that's the first thing we've got to worry about. I think we've got to worry about that. They still look. They've sold Kirkes. They've depleted their team, and they still look decent enough, which says a lot about their coaching. The Burmo thing, 100% agree. 15, 20 minutes doing your sprints. Just come on. I want you to get up and down the wing. You can play him in that wing back position, can't you? Just go, come, go, come. So, but as for tonight's game, I quite like the fact, Jonathan. I don't know what you thought, but the fact he went, no, I'm playing my best 11 I can put out for at least 60 minutes, not this 45 minutes swap the team bullshit. He obviously wants us to be going at Arsenal at 110%. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, I just want him everything, to be honest. I want to see chances. I want to see patterns of play. I want to see the same starting lineup. I don't want changes. If that's what he thinks is the best team, then let's go with it. There are players a week behind, but they ain't catching up for 3 days between games.
Yeah.
You're not catching that up at all. So, yeah, we obviously had a question asked there in the chat. I don't know who even put that up on the screen. But yeah, tomorrow I just want to see chances created. I don't care if they're going in. I want to see them created, not just balls flung into the box, little intra 1-2s around the box and getting a shot off. I think the Leeds game was a prime example where Obi went for that shot, but Cunha was there. So do you know what I mean? It's like, I don't mind that because there was two players. Okay, we made the wrong decision. Let's look at it on the TV. Let's talk to the players about what we could have had. So, right, what are your thoughts here?
The thing is with Mainu is that I don't like the idea of Amarin finding a role for him in a linking midfielder role. It just seems like we're now creating ridiculous positions for players that, we know what Mainu is capable of. We know what he can do in a solid midfield situation. So making up roles and positions for players it almost sounds like it's sort of justifying why we're not spending money in that position. We don't need to spend money in this area because we've got Fernandez that can drop back and Mainu as a linking midfielder. Well, no, if he's not good enough to play as a defensive midfielder and he's not good enough to play as a box-to-box, I really like Mainu and I have done since his debut. I'm a really big fan and I think he is going to do really well. But if you're asking me to keep Mainu for the sake of creating midfield positions for him and then run the risk of him not having any real amount of game time next year, you're almost better off selling a player like Mainu for more
And find the
PSR
player that you want.
to bring in a top target that you're actually after.
Yeah.
It seems a shame to look at it like that, but a player like Kobe Mainu will get a lot of interest if you were to put out that he is for sale, because we know what he can do. If you're putting him alongside an Ugarte and then using him as his linking midfielder, then that just adds us more questions to where Bruno's going to play and how you're managing to fit Mbeumo and Cunha into this situation. Otherwise we are going to be looking at an Mbeumo right wing back situation as a Cunha on a left wing and then an Ahmad in a right wing, and then we're now just doing what we used to do under Mourinho or even Van Gaal in some stages, is we were just trying to put our players on the pitch and it wasn't working. We were just creating positions for them all the time, and it was never working. So as much as I really like Mainu, and I don't want him to be sold, but if you're just going to create positions for him that don't exist, then you might as well just take the PSR benefit and just sell him for 50, 60 million. I don't know what you think, Jonathan, but
Yeah, no, I agree. I love Manu. He's one of my favourite players at the club. From the minute he made his debut against Everton, I just love the way he moves around the pitch. He was brilliant. Carried into the summer for England then against in the Euros. So he's a wonderful player to watch, and he's a wonderful attribute to the club. But I would agree completely, Nathan, that we've made this mistake too often in the past, that we're trying to put square pegs in round holes. We love the player. He's come through the academy, which makes it even more special. But we've got to back the manager. If this is the formation we're going down, and we want to get back to winning Premier Leagues and Champions Leagues again, then you've got to back the manager. And I'm not saying Amarim wants him to go. I'm sure Amarim wants him to work out because he can see his qualities. But ultimately, I look at that formation now, and I don't know where he fits in, because he's not a defensive midfielder, and he's not going to get into 10 position now with Cunha and Mbuemo coming in there now. So,
which is his best position.
yeah, exactly. He played there in one of the Europa League games last year, and he was absolutely quality. Now I know, look, the level of opposition is a lot weaker, but I mean, he's I can ultimately see him being sold. I don't think it'll be this summer, but I think it could be next summer that we see him getting moved on, because there's just something there that suggests to me that Amarim just doesn't see a long term position for him in that formation.
I probably agree with both of you. I love Mainu. I think he's great on the ball. I think the fact that we started a midfield with Mainu and Ugarte, neither of them can play that holding midfield role on their own. So that says to me they can't play with Bruno. But yet they were the. We shouldn't discredit them, but you said it earlier. They are the new McFred. They work better. I've had a real issue with Mainu not being able to sprint. He doesn't have a fifth gear. He barely gets out of third gear. That's why he's so comfortable on the ball. He just glides, and Zidane used to glide. When anyone ever see Zidane sprint in a football match? No.
No.
But if we're going to try and make him fit us, then we're wasting the player. We should be fitting him in his best position. And if he can't be there, what's the difference? I love that term, linking midfielder. When did a midfielder not link the play? Is that sort of their job? So if that's the case, then we've got Mason Mount. He's a linking midfielder. If we're not going to play him in the 10, because he started in a 4-4-2, that would be a linking midfielder. Cunha and Bruno. Are we going to do a box midfield where we rotate? I love Kobe, but I'd cash in. I don't think we're in the position to hang on to these players. And I'd wish him all the best. There are plenty of players who came through the Man United academy to go on to play in the Premier League for other clubs and have a great career. But is Mainu better than, like, 100% in all aspects, better than a Casemiro, a Ugarte, a Bruno for that for that central midfield spot? Where is he? Is he first choice? And then we got up and coming players. Kone coming from the youth team. The Fletchers have gone on tour. They're both central midfielders. We're putting out Toby Collier on loan because he can't get in that midfield. And we've only got one game a week. So it's not like we're going to rotate players unless we go deep into the Carabao Cup, FA Cup, all at the same time. But I get it. Yes, we would cry. And I don't want him to go because he is definitely talented. But we've replaced him already, in my eyes. He's a number 10. He came through the academy as a number 10. And we're trying to get him to bloody play as a holding midfielder. Yeah. Like, there aren't many players at a young age that drop back there. You learn the game, you learn to read the game and drop further back down the pitch and dictate it. Not at his age. If he can do that now, fair play. He will be world class. But I don't see it. So, yeah, Nathan?
Losing all sound now.
Well, we can hear you. What's the point? I mean, but we have to...
You hear us?
No, I don't feel you can. So yeah, Jonathan, I'll put it back to you. Like, that's where we are at. Do you know what I mean? Like, Toby Collier out the door. Mainu has got to be right there with Toby Collier in my eyes. Like, in the rankings of who's next in the midfielders, it would have been between those two.
I think with Collier at the moment, they're probably loaning him out to get some value to him. I don't see him working out long term as a holding midfielder at the club. I think he's 22 now, and he's still yet to kind of make a meaningful impact on the midfield on the club. So I think that is probably them trying to get a bit of value in a loan and maybe sell him for 10 to 15 million then next summer and have the PSR.
So
Personally, I
you'd
don't
say
think.
it's Collier, Mainu, Ugarte or Casemiro, whichever way you probably want to rotate them,
Yeah, you'd
and then
rotate those two.
Bruno for midfield
Yeah,
for two players. So that's the ranking.
yeah, yeah.
So
I'd
there isn't
agree.
much between them, is there? Really? So
No, no.
I think there was one more question in. I think I saw in there. I don't know if you've seen it yet, but my stream keeps cutting out. I think it was from Vorty about the striker situation.
Yeah, I have it there now. Yeah.
Yeah, if we get a striker, we got the money to buy a top midfielder. I'd rather get a top four. Yeah, Mark. I don't know if you want to cover over that, and then we can wrap up.
Jonathan, do you want to go first on that? Because then I'll break it down.
I'd rather get a top spot and get a goalie over the midfield. I agree with getting a goalie over a midfielder because I think it's a massive priority. But as I touched on already, if I could pick between a midfielder and a striker, I would definitely go between. Like if someone offered me Baliba or Sheshko, I'd be going Baliba all day long now because I just think that midfield just needs a modern player in there. I just think all of our current midfielders, they just lack something that every other team in the Premier League seems to have. And as I said already earlier on the show, I think we get enough goals from the likes of Cunha and Mbuemo and what they'll provide for Xerxes and Hoyland as we currently have than going out and spending 70 million on a striker like Sheshko. So if I had a choice, I would definitely be picking a midfielder over a striker, but I think a goalkeeper is definitely hugely important as well.
So maybe this is more my coaching head, and I try not to do that. Looking at Man United, I try not to coach Manchester United, as in how I see it. But
it's one of the reasons we keep you around, to be honest, Mark. So.
But if I wanted my team to be better, they need to have a lot of trust in everyone. And the first thing, if they're not trusting their goalkeeper, they're going to sit a little bit deeper. They're not going to push. They're not going to go all out on a counter attack because they're scared to get countered themselves and the keeper being exposed. So for me, first I would get a keeper in I'd be talking to my defenders. What do you reckon about this? How would you feel if we got this guy in or this guy in? And if they felt comfortable with Onana, then that's fine. But if they went, no, we'll take Martinez, which for me is the just logical choice. And they went, yeah, and then we're playing the halfway line because we know he's going to sweep like he does for Villa. And if it does go wrong, he's going to absolutely clatter their centre forward. I know he's banned for the first 3 games for taking out Rasmus, but I would do that. And then I would say, right, okay, my defenders are here. What's next? Well, I need more midfielders. And people might say, why? Because if I'm constantly now creating chances and keeping the ball further up that pitch, what's going to happen every time? As long as we don't miss the target, we have a shot, it gets cleared. Then we turn the ball back over again. It comes out to the midfielders. They move it around and we get another chance. And you smother teams. And to be honest, a striker, it's normally the final piece in a puzzle. Let's look at Arsenal. They have built everything and they got the striker this season. And now, let's be fair, we can put jokes aside, but we're looking at it going, okay, they brought in a striker. Now it's game on for them because that was all they were missing last year was a striker. That's me. I build from the back. If you can't get past me, we didn't concede that many goals last year. Like all joking aside, it was the fact we didn't put the ball in the net. But as Jonathan said at the start of the show, Nathan, you said it, I've said it. I think every channel talks about it. We don't create enough chances. And the only way to create more chances is win the ball back higher up the pitch and go again. And that's what I think a keeper and a midfielder gives us.
Yeah, I 100% agree, and I think we'll keep it there, chaps. Really good stuff. Yeah, keep an eye out on our socials. We are now on TikTok, so if you want to jump over there and follow us, hopefully over the weekend I'll get a chance to upload some more stuff on there. Head over to our Twitter page. If you do want to get involved in the channel, by all means, just slide into our DMs on Twitter. One of us will get back to you, and if we like the look of you or we like the sound of you, we'll add you into the WhatsApp group and we get you on and get your opinions on everything we've talked about. Hopefully a show over the weekend, but 100% we'll be back next week, midweek, as usual. Hopefully with some transfer news, a bit more meat on the bones, hopefully to talk about in regards to maybe Sheshko or whatever else. But until then, thank you very much, Jonathan. Thank you very much, Mark.
Pleasure.
Until then, see you guys very, very soon.
Take care, guys.